Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive into GCSE Biology.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Last time we were exploring the amazing world of cells.
Yeah, right? Those tiny building blocks of life.
But sometimes those cells have some unwanted visitors.
Oh, yeah. You know,
So today we're going deep into the world of infection and response.
how those tiny invaders work.
Yeah, and how our bodies fight back.
It's such a crucial topic, for understanding health and making good decisions about our well-being.
So it's like a constant battle going on inside us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A microscopic battlefield.
Okay, so who exactly are these attackers that are trying to break in?
We call them pathogens.
Pathogens.
Yeah, they're microorganisms that cause disease.
Interesting.
They're like tiny little ninjas, each with their own sneaky tactics.
I like that analogy. Tiny ninjas.
Yeah, we're talking viruses, bacteria, protists, and fungi.
Okay, 4 main types of invaders.
Right?
Let's break those down a little bit.
Yeah.
What makes a virus so different from, say, bacteria?
Well, think of a virus like a tiny hijacker. It can't reproduce on its own, so it has to invade your cells and take over their machinery to make copies of itself.
Wow, so it's kind of like rewriting the code of your cells.
Exactly like a rebel programmer, taking over the system.
So give us an example of a virus and how it does its dirty work.
Sure. Well, the measles virus, for example, spreads through the air,
Yeah.
and it causes, that nasty fever and that classic red rash.
Oh, measles. Yeah, that's definitely one you want to avoid.
For sure.
So if viruses are hijackers, what about bacteria? How do they operate?
Bacteria are more like tiny factories, I'd say.
Okay.
They multiply rapidly,
Uh-huh.
and some release toxins,
Toxins.
poisons that can damage our cells.
Got it.
Salmonella, for example, often lurks in undercooked food.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. And it can release toxins that cause those awful stomach cramps, vomiting, and, let's just say it's not fun.
I can imagine. Yeah, definitely not a party in your stomach.
No, not at all.
Okay, so we've got hijacking viruses and toxin-producing bacteria. What about these protists? Are they as nasty?
Protists are a really diverse bunch. Some are harmless,
Right.
but others are parasitic,
Parasite.
meaning they live on or in us and can cause some real trouble.
Give us an example.
Malaria is a good example.
Malaria.
It's caused by a protist that infects red blood cells and is spread through mosquito bites.
Mosquitoes the worst.
You know it?
All right, so we've got viruses, bacteria, and protists. Last but not least, tell us about the fungi among us.
Okay, so fungi can be single-celled or multicellular, and they can release spores that spread easily. Some fungi can actually cause infections.
Really?
Yeah, athlete's foot, for example, is caused by a fungus that thrives in warm, moist environments.
Oh, yeah. Athlete's foot.
It's not life-threatening, but it can be pretty annoying.
Right, yeah. I've heard it's very itchy.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got these 4 groups of microscopic invaders trying to get into our bodies. But we're not just defenseless, are we? Tell me about our body's security system.
Absolutely not. We've got a fantastic defense system, a 2-part system that works around the clock.
Cool 2-part defense system.
Yeah, first there's the non-specific defenses, the outer walls of our fortress.
Okay. I like that visual. So like the castle walls and moat keeping everyone out.
Precisely. So your skin is your first line of defense.
Okay.
Just a fantastic barrier against pathogens.
Makes sense.
And then there are those nose hairs you might not love,
Yeah, those...
but they trap pathogens before they can get deeper in.
I never thought of nose hairs as being useful.
Well, they are. And don't forget mucus.
No, mucus.
It might seem gross, but it's a sticky trap that catches invaders.
So that runny nose you get when you're sick.
That's your body trying to flush out those trapped pathogens.
Oh, so even when we're feeling lousy, our body is working hard to protect us. That's amazing.
It is.
You also mentioned stomach acid.
Yeah.
How does that fit into this whole defense system?
Well, think of stomach acid like a powerful bath
Okay.
that kills many of the pathogens that enter through food or drink.
Wow, so it's like a really harsh environment that a lot of invaders can't survive. Wow, so our bodies are pretty impressive even without us really knowing it.
Right.
But what happens when those sneaky pathogens get past those outer defenses? What then?
That's when our second line of defense kicks in the specific immune system.
Okay.
This is where things get really targeted and complex.
Okay, I'm ready for the advanced security measures.
Yeah.
Tell me about our internal defense force.
This is where the white blood cells come in.
White blood cells.
Yeah, they're like our internal army.
Wow.
Each type with its own special job to do.
Incredible.
Some white blood cells are phagocytes.
Phagocytes.
And they engulf and destroy pathogens directly.
So they're like tiny Pac-Man characters gobbling up the invaders.
It's a good visual.
I like it.
But there's a lot more to it than that. Phagocytosis is a complex process where the phagocyte engulfs the pathogen, breaks it down with enzymes, and displays bits of it on its surface to alert other immune cells.
Wow, so it's not just gobbling them up. It's like putting up wanted posters for the rest of the immune system.
Exactly. Then you have lymphocytes, another type of white blood cell.
Okay.
Some lymphocytes, called B cells, produce antibodies.
Antibodies.
Which are like personalized weapons that target specific pathogens.
So each antibody is designed to fight a specific type of invader. That's incredible. How does that even work?
Think of antibodies like wanted posters, but with a special twist.
Okay.
Each antibody has a unique shape that fits perfectly onto a specific antigen, a molecule found on the surface of a pathogen.
Got it.
And when the antibody binds to its matching antigen, it marks the pathogen for destruction by other immune cells.
So it's like a lock and key system, but for fighting off disease.
You got it.
That's so cool.
And here's the really amazing part. Once your body has encountered a specific pathogen and created antibodies against it, it remembers.
Remembers.
Yeah, so if you encounter that same pathogen again, your immune system can mount a much faster and stronger response.
Ah, that explains why we sometimes only get sick from a certain bug once our bodies have learned how to fight it off.
Yeah. Exactly. This memory is the basis for immunity. And it's one of the most remarkable features of our immune system.
This is all so fascinating. Our bodies are like these microscopic battlefields.
They really are.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about how these battles play out with specific diseases or the role of things like vaccines.
Oh, yeah. Vaccines are a huge part of this whole story.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm on the edge of my seat. Let's dive deeper into those topics next.
That's good.
But for now, it's just incredible to think about all these complex actions happening inside us every second of the day.
It really is amazing.
You know, our bodies are doing so much work to keep us healthy.
Yeah, constantly working behind the scenes.
And we don't even realize it most of the time.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It is. You know, it's amazing how our bodies are equipped to fight off those invaders. But sometimes we need a little extra help, especially when it comes to bacterial infections.
Ah, yeah, antibiotics.
Exactly. Antibiotics are like our secret weapon against bacteria. They're medicines that can kill or inhibit the growth of bacteria without harming our own cells.
So they're specifically designed to target bacteria.
That's right. Different antibiotics work in different ways. But the key is that they specifically target bacterial processes or structures.
Okay.
Like, for example, penicillin, one of the first discovered antibiotics, interferes with the formation of bacterial cell walls.
Okay.
So it weakens the bacteria and eventually causes them to burst open.
Wow, that's intense. So if antibiotics are so effective against bacteria, why can't we use them to treat viral infections too?
That's a great question. And it goes back to those fundamental differences between bacteria and viruses. Remember how we talked about viruses hijacking our own cells to replicate?
Yeah.
Well, that makes it really tricky to develop drugs that can target viruses without also harming our own cells.
So it's like trying to shoot a target that's hiding behind a hostage.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why antibiotics are only effective against bacterial infections, not viral ones.
They-
It's really important to remember that taking antibiotics when you have a viral infection won't help you get better and could even do more harm than good.
More harm than good. How so?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is the rise of antibiotic resistance.
Antibiotic resistance, what does that mean?
It means that bacteria are evolving to become resistant to the antibiotics we use to kill them.
Oh, wow.
It's a natural process driven by the survival of the fittest. When we use antibiotics, we kill off the susceptible bacteria. But any resistant bacteria that survive are then free to multiply and spread their resistance genes to other bacteria.
Oh, so it's like we're inadvertently creating these superbugs that are immune to our weapons.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And this is a serious problem because it means that infections that were once easily treatable with antibiotics are now becoming much harder to treat.
So what can we do to prevent antibiotic resistance?
One of the most important things is to only take antibiotics when they're truly needed. That means not pressuring your doctor for antibiotics if you have a viral infection, and always following your doctor's instructions on how to take your antibiotics.
Yeah.
including finishing the entire course, even if you start feeling better before you've finished all the pills.
So it's all about using antibiotics responsibly and strategically.
Exactly. We need to be good stewards of these powerful medicines and use them wisely to preserve their effectiveness for future generations.
That makes a lot of sense. We've been talking about how our amazing immune system learns to fight off infections it's encountered before. That's pretty cool. But what about those diseases that are new to our bodies? Is there any way to prepare our immune system in advance?
That's where vaccines come in.
Vaccines.
Vaccines are like a training program for your immune system.
Okay.
They introduce a harmless version of a pathogen,
Okay.
maybe a weakened version or even just a piece of it, so your body can learn to recognize it and build up those specific antibodies without actually getting sick.
So it's like showing your immune system a wanted poster without the actual criminal running around causing trouble.
Exactly. And the beauty of vaccines is that they not only protect you individually, but they also contribute to something called herd immunity.
Herd immunity. What's that?
Imagine a disease trying to spread through a population. If enough people are vaccinated, the disease hits a roadblock because it can't find enough susceptible individuals to infect.
Interesting.
It's like creating a protective shield around the entire community, especially those who can't be vaccinated for medical reasons.
That's amazing. So vaccines are like a team effort to protect everyone.
Exactly.
But I've heard some people have concerns about vaccine safety. What would you say to those concerns?
It's understandable that people have questions about anything they're putting into their bodies.
Right.
But it's important to remember that vaccines undergo rigorous testing and safety protocols before they're made available to the public. The vast majority of people experience only mild side effects, if any, and the protection they offer against potentially deadly diseases far outweighs any minor risks.
That makes sense. So vaccines are a safe and effective way to protect ourselves and our communities from infectious diseases.
Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up this incredible journey through our immune system, you mentioned something earlier called monoclonal antibodies.
Oh, yes.
They sound pretty high-tech. Can you tell us more about those?
Absolutely. Monoclonal antibodies are like super specific antibodies engineered in a lab to target very precise molecules or cells in the body.
So they're like the elite special forces of the immune system.
Exactly. They're created by fusing mouse cells with tumor cells, which creates these hybrid cells called hybridomas that produce large quantities of identical antibodies, all aimed at a specific target. It's like having a whole army of clones all trained to attack the same enemy.
Wow, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but how are they actually used in medicine?
They have a really wide range of applications, from pregnancy tests to cancer treatment. Yeah, for instance, in pregnancy tests, monoclonal antibodies are used to detect a specific hormone that's produced during pregnancy.
So those little lines that appear on a pregnancy test stick are actually the result of monoclonal antibodies doing their job.
Precisely. And because they're so specific, they're incredibly accurate, but they can do much more than just detect hormones. Monoclonal antibodies are also being used to treat a variety of diseases, including cancer, autoimmune disorders, and even some viral infections.
So they're like tiny targeted weapons that can fight disease at a molecular level.
That's a great way to think about it.
Cool.
For example, in cancer treatment, monoclonal antibodies can be used to deliver toxic drugs directly to cancer cells, sparing healthy cells from damage. Or they can be used to block the signals that cancer cells need to grow and spread.
That's amazing. It
Yeah.
sounds like monoclonal antibodies are opening up this whole new world of possibilities in medicine.
They truly are. It's a rapidly evolving field, and we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of their potential.
This deep dive into infection and response has been mind-blowing, from those sneaky pathogens to our body's incredible defenses. We've covered a lot of ground, but our exploration of the microscopic world isn't over yet. We've been talking so much about how our bodies defend against those microscopic invaders. It makes you wonder, do other living things have to deal with this too? What about plants?
That's a great question. Plants may not have immune systems exactly like ours, but
Yeah.
they definitely face their own battles against pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and fungi.
Interesting. So it's not just a human problem?
No, not at all. And just like in humans, these infections can cause all sorts of problems for plants, damaging crops, and even impacting our food supply.
So plant diseases aren't just a problem for the plants themselves, they can have ripple effects on us too.
Exactly.
What are some of the signs that a plant might be infected with something?
Well, you want to keep an eye out for things like stunted growth.
Hmm.
That's when a plant is much smaller than it should be. You might also see spots or discoloration on the leaves, wilting, or even strange growths or deformities.
So if a plant just doesn't look quite right. There's a chance it could be fighting off an infection.
Exactly. And just like with human diseases, early detection is key. Scientists are constantly working on ways to identify and manage plant diseases to protect our food sources.
That makes sense. But if plants don't have white blood cells and antibodies, how do they defend themselves against these pathogens?
Well, plants have evolved some pretty ingenious defense mechanisms.
Okay.
They have physical barriers like a tough outer layer called the cuticle and cell walls that provide structural support.
So it's like they're wearing armor.
Yeah, you could say that some plants even have thorns or hairs to deter, hungry animals.
Wow, so they're not just sitting ducks. Are there other defenses like chemical weapons?
You bet. Many plants produce a variety of chemical compounds that can act as toxins or deterrents to insects.
Hmm.
And other attackers think about the strong smell of some herbs or the bitterness of certain leaves.
Right, so those aren't just for our enjoyment. They actually serve a purpose for the plant.
Exactly.
Wow, so they've got quite the defense arsenal.
And some plants even use trickery to protect themselves.
Trickery, what do you mean?
Well, there are plants that mimic the look of unhealthy plants to discourage animals from eating them.
Interesting.
Others have patterns on their leaves that resemble insect eggs, which deters other insects from laying their eggs there.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating. So they're like playing mind games with their attackers.
It's true. Nature is full of surprises. This amazing diversity of plant defenses is a testament to the power of evolution, how life finds a way to adapt and survive in a challenging world.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive into the world of infection and response we've journeyed, from the microscopic battles within our own bodies to the incredible defense strategies of plants. It really makes you appreciate the complexity and resilience of life.
It really does. It's a reminder that we're all connected in this intricate web of life, and understanding these processes is crucial for our own health and the well-being of our planet.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as I have. Next time, we're shifting gears from fighting disease to exploring how organisms get the energy they need to survive. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of bioenergetics. See you next time on The Deep Dive.